Hello, my name is Chanel and this is Spirited Stardust, and today I'm doing the hashtag Tarot to the Extreme. It's a VR to Theresa. And yeah, we'll be going through some of my decks, some contrasting, oppositional dichotomy decks. So the first theme is your most minimalist deck. So for me, both aesthetic wise and energy wise, I would have to say it is the Spacious Tarot. So these are the backs. I etched mine in blue. So for me, hello Sylvie, this is super simple in terms of its imagery. Its name is literally Spacious Tarot. So that minimalist aesthetic lends itself to that spaciousness you feel. It's also got like a bit of a muted color palette, which I think also, you know, suits that sort of minimalist feel. The guidebook is pretty brief, but very simple, very to the point. It's just like, it's just got this really calming energy to me. And for me, a minimalist deck has to have that sort of, once again, spaciousness or calm. It's got to have, like, look at that. Like, does that not, that's just so minimalist to me. It pairs it back to like the essential, so to speak, the core vibe or energy, meaning, you know, without the frills and added extravagance. So yeah, this deck for me, in terms of even like the cardstock is really this beautiful simple matte, so it's easy to shuffle. It's a great small size, and yeah, it's basic, but it's not a basic bitch. Like these are upside down. So for me, if I was going to pick one deck to epitomize minimalist, it would be this. Like, look at this for justice. Like, you see what I'm saying here? You know, the Emperor, tall poppy. I love it. So for me, yeah, the deck to symbolize minimalist would definitely be the Spacious Tarot. Next up is Maximalist. So there was another deck that I thought of this, but I've gone with this one because I didn't want to double up on the questions. So I'm going with the Dreamy Moons Tarot by Annie Tarasova. I'll just get it out so you can see what I mean. So these are the backs. So they've got the foiling, they've got the gold foiling, they've got that shiny gold gilding, they've got like this really bold, bright, vivacious contrast of like the black with the very saturated colors. So compared, like the energy, it's got a much more luxe, grand feel to it. So in terms of energy too, you couldn't be more different. This one does definitely feel more sumptuous, more maximalist. You know, look at the border. It's very intricate. It's got a lot of illustrations. And yeah, you've got the gilding on the front of the cards as well. The cards, some of the suits have been renamed, so it's added its own flair, so you sort of have to learn those two. The other one, look, the Spacious Tarot also has been renamed. We'll say that as well. But yeah, this, like in terms of, I'll show them together so you can see what I mean. So you've got this deck here, and you've got this deck here, and you can like already see the difference. So with the color palettes alone, one's more muted, one's more flashy. In terms of the illustrations, this one doesn't have any borders, you know, like these are upside down now. So this one is borderless. This one has a very elaborate border. There's no gilding on the Spacious Tarot. The cardstock for this is, it's a satin, but more towards a gloss. you can see the difference between the styles. But I'll show you too that even the guidebook. So this is the guidebook for this one, and that's what you get. One page, very brief, very to the point. And then the guidebook for this one is, you know, super colorful. It's got keywords and affirmations. It's a bit extra. So those are my two choices for Maximalist deck and the Minimalist deck. Next up, we have daytime and nighttime decks. So for my daytime, I'm going to start with this one here. So let's have a look-see in here. So I have chosen dun, 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 the Herb Crafters Tarot. So these are the backs. I've edged mine, I edge all my decks. These are the backs. So it's already got that, like, this has a spring vibe to me. You know, the birds are singing, the sun is shining, there's lusciousness. Are these all upside down? No, just these ones. It's very vibrant, it's colorful, it's got like a real uplifting, energetic energy to it. It's definitely one I use during the day too. I tend to use this also in like my kitchen witchery. So if I get something with an element that I can cook with, I will cook with it. If it's a certain tree, I will meditate like on that particular tree's energy. I'll go into my garden. I love to, like, this is also summertime for me because it makes me want to do it outside on a picnic blanket. Like, this is such a picnic blanket under a tree, sipping lemonade, you know, snacking on scones, whatever you fancy vibe to it. It's totally evocative of the daytime for me, and it's got a bit of that solar energy in it. So yeah, I love it. It is my daytime deck. Let's move that out of the way. And then for my nighttime deck, I'm going to first do an honorable mention of an oracle because it's literally called Nocturna. And these are the backs with the moon on them and a dark sky, and it is all about the nighttime. It's about plants that bloom at night. It's about nocturnal animals, and this has such a nighttime energy to me. It's real moody and mysterious and has that almost like dangerousness of the night to it. So I just had to do an honorable mention for that one because it is literally called night, and I do get such a nighttime vibe from that. Whereas otherwise for my tarot, I have picked the Dreamkeeper's Tarot, because already, so the backs of that sort of like teal, I don't know what you'd call it. The color palette is got that darkness to it. It's literally called Dreamkeepers. It's got that essence of dreaming, of nighttime. It's just got more of, yeah, that darker nocturnal energy to it. It's definitely one also I love doing it at night because the guidebook is really in depth and it's like I'm reading a bedtime story. It has that quality to it. So I'm going to show them together so you can see the difference between them. So already too, you can see with like, this one has the white border, which brings so much more light, while the Dreamkeepers has that dark blue, dusky blue color. So what, like, how sunny and daytime is that feeling compared to like literally the moon's in the sky in this one? So you can see just by aesthetics alone, and even the vibe between them, so different. So yeah, that's my nighttime deck, Dreamkeepers. I'll just put this one aside. Oops, I've already dropped it. I was hoping not to drop any, but I am a bit of a klutz. And the daytime was the the Herb Crafters Tarot. I think I'm going to clean up after because otherwise this would run way too long. Okay, next up on the list is the best shuffle and the worst. Okay, so for the best shuffle, I'm going to be getting out my Saint Soleil Beginners Tarot Lucid Dreams. This deck, I guess I'll shuffle it first. It shuffles like a dream. It's linen matte cardstock. So they slide without being too slidey, and they never stick. It's lovely. It's a beautiful tactile experience. This was my first matte linen cardstock, and it's now I can tell you without, you know, any hesitancy that it is my favorite type of cardstock. I absolutely adore matte linen cardstock. I was going to pick this also for the Maximalist deck because of the style of illustration, because it's got the keywords for both upright and reversals. It's got astrological signs, elemental, planetary symbols. It's got the lot. It's got the gilding, it's got the foil, but I didn't want to double up, but this is definitely what I would consider a Maximalist deck. But it's also an absolute dream. Sorry, it's garbage day. They're still going into the afternoon. Bless them. So that's my favorite shuffle deck. Then I guess for my least favorite, out of my tarots, it'll probably be Cosmic Visions, because it is, this is Cosmic Visions Max, it is rose petal. So you can see it tends to go in clumps. So sometimes you'll have to like physically separate the cards. It doesn't do like the best shuffle. I'll sometimes be like, sometimes I'll think one's come out, I'm like, oh great, and then it's like, no, there's two. So yeah, it's still not bad. I've had way worse rose petal decks, to the point where like they will clump in cards of 20, you know, at a time, whereas this one, it tends to be like maybe 2, occasionally 3 stuck together. So it is a better rose petal. But out of my tarots, I would say it shuffles the worst. But that being said, I really struggle with ones that are gigantic. So I don't have any big tarots, but I have like some big oracles that are so tall or wide, or whatever you want to call it, that I can't actually put my hands around it, and you have to do the overhand, which is like the worst way to shuffle for me. But then again, at least I can fan those out, whereas the rose petal you can't fan out. So for the worst shufflers, it's either like sticky rose petal or just really oversized decks. All right, now we've got Confronting versus Comforting, which I haven't done. I'm going to have to go and get them, and I'll do them last. I forgot those ones. All right, so next up we'll do Everyday and So Often. So Everyday, we'll say it's my sparkly Lenormand. And this is my everyday because I pull these on the daily. That's how I use my Lenormand. I'm like, okay, what's my day today? Like, what's the theme of my day today? What's going down? And it's so easy. It's pocket sized. It's adorable. I love the colors. It's a great way for me to start my morning. This was already bang on. I think today I pulled like, what was it? Was it like tree and letter? And it was like, oh, prescription. It turns out I had to go to the optometrist to redo my prescription because I went to order some contacts and they said, hey, you haven't come since before the pandemic. We can't sell you contacts until we've rechecked your prescription. So I was like, okay, where's that prescription you told me about? Sometimes it's quite literal. So yeah, that's a sparkly Lenormand, and I use that every single day in the morning. And then a deck that I use so often for me is the Cute Cat Tarot. So this is adorable, but it's something that I have to be in the mood for. So these are the backs, and it's got that rainbow holographic, which is really cool. These are probably not going to be all the right way, but whatevs. So I have to be in the mood for this. I have to be in a kiddie mood. I have to be more in my playful, childlike energy, or I have to be in a light-hearted, I want to have a giggle. I don't want to take anything too seriously. I don't want anything heavy. I just want it light, breezy, and kawaii. And this is the deck that I use every so often when the mood strikes me. Could it be an everyday deck? Sure. Do I use it every day? No. So that's the cute cat. Cute cat's title. Next up, we've got overrated versus underrated. Okay. So this is a controversial one, my goodness. So let me just open up the bag. And for me, you can probably already tell, it is the Playful Heart Tarot. So these are the backs, I used mine in pink. These are glossy matte, but these like are super slidey. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but these slide all over the place. So this one was like really doing the rounds on YouTube and everybody was raving about it. I love the illustrations. I think they're gorgeous. The theme is super cute. The quality is excellent. First peeve is that it doesn't come standard with a physical guidebook. So there's starting to be a new sort of theme for decks to only have PDFs or online, and you have to actually purchase a physical guidebook, which I really don't like. I'm like, include it in the price then. It's just an extra hassle and I don't like it. The guidebook itself, I'm gonna say it, it's not great. It's written in a real cutesy way, which I get it's got to go with the theme of the deck, but it's real shallow. I know some people say they use this for shadow work and stuff, but I just don't get a lot of depth from this. This is a very surface level deck for me, and it's just more about the aesthetic. If I feel like this kind of aesthetic, that's when I pull it out. So I haven't super duper connected to this. It is new, so I've got to give it some time. But like I said, it does also slide everywhere, which is a little bit annoying. It's a bit too slippery. So for me, like, look, it's nice, but I don't get the hype, you know, the raves. It's okay. Next up, we've got underrated deck, and I'm going to go with the Alchemists Garden because this is just something I have not seen in other people's collections at all. These are the backs. I've edged mine in the same color. These are going to be all over the place. So these will have like the number at the top. It also has a keyword, and then it's got the name of the plant in both English and Latin. There we go. So I think this is really underrated. The guidebook is really extensive. I love the meanings that they've associated, why they've chosen the particular flora or fauna to accompany it, or fungi. It's also knowledgeable because you get to learn about the accompanying flora, fauna, or fungi, and it's excellent. It's got great spreads in there. It's good quality. I still think this would be so gorgeous in like a matte linen or a matte rather than a satin. But that's just my opinion because it would suit the aged look a little more. But I think this is an amazing, oh, sorry. I always apologize to inanimate objects. Does anybody else do that? I'm very like, is it Shinto in that respect where I treat objects as if they have a spirit to them? So yeah, that's the Alchemist's Garden. I think it's really underrated and people should give it a look-see. Next we've got light work and shadow work. I'm going to start with a shout out to a shadow work deck, which is the Lantern Oracle. I was trying to think, look, I don't really think any of my tarots are really shadow work, but this one does encompass that shadow work vibe to me. That card gets me every single time because she looks like my late grandmother, my yaya, and it makes me miss her. Just a bit emotional. This is very emotional for me. This is very introspective for me. Regeneration begins with decay. Like, this is definitely the most shadow work deck. Look at this beautiful woman. She's had a mastectomy, radical self-acceptance. That energy to me, even like its aesthetic too, is very shadow worky. So I think, yeah, out of everything, distorted desire. Conscious desire rarely satisfies the unconscious need driving it. So that pretty much sums it up. It's a good, excellent oracle start to get into the subconscious and the shadow work and the traumas and everything else. I don't really use tarot for that directly, because I feel like tarot itself does have light and shadow in it. Some to a more extensive degree than others, like some might be more light than others, some might be more dark, but that they still do have light and dark in them inherently because of the cards themselves. But I also tend not to, I don't do a lot of work with cards for my shadow work. It's just straight up journaling and meditation, body work, that sort of thing. But we'll start with the light work. So for this one, I picked the This Might Hurt tarot, which once again has the rainbow holographic. And the reason for this, I say light work and it's come up. First card, it's Eight of Swords and Eight of Cups. It's got like this slice of life feel to it, like just daily life energy. A lot of the guidebook too is very much like, it's very modern. It doesn't really go, I wouldn't say, it doesn't go too deep, but that being said, it's not superficial, but it just has, yeah, more of like your daily issues and troubles. You know, what's happening on the surface of your consciousness, that sort of energy to it. And it's like it's not confronting in terms of its aesthetic, and the cards, like even the heavier cards are really palatable. Yeah, so for me, this is a light work deck. And then I'd say if I had to pick a shadow work tarot deck, if I absolutely had to, it would probably be my True Black. Obviously aesthetically as well, it's got more of that shadowscape, more of that subconscious imagery. God, I love this deck. The guidebook itself, like it's the author's like interpretations of the cards, I'd say skew more towards, I won't say the negative, but the shadow side, the dark side of them, of the possible meanings rather than the light. So in that respect, this does sort of delve more into the subconscious rather than like, hey, what's happening in your daily, everyday, go to work, pick the kids up life. No, this is more about the subconscious spirit or psyche. And this is what it's my choice for shadow work as a deck. So I'm just going to go and quickly pick a Confronting and a Comforting deck. Okay, and we're back. So I'm going to start with the Confronting deck, and I've chosen the Abyssal Tarot. So this is confronting for more than one reason. I'm going to issue a nudity warning because there is nudity in this, and it's not like my tarot erotique where it's happy porny nudity. It's a bit more confronting because there are some depictions of sort of violence in this imagery. Like, there we go, bang, confronting. That's a very confronting. Three of Swords is already a confronting card, and that's just like a bit in my face. So, and also like sort of the meanings to it too skews a bit more to the brash and abrupt. But for me, this is such a confronting deck visually that I just sometimes I just can't read with it very well. Like, I get too caught up on the imagery to think about the card. I don't know how else to describe it, but I just think about the picture rather than the meaning. So I don't really get what I came for when I do tarot. I'm just left with me thinking about someone else's artwork rather, you know, like she's choking herself. Yes, I get it in terms of why it's the devil, but I'm just thinking of people who like to be choked during sex, or people who hurt themselves, self-harm, and I just go down a wormhole that is not related, you know, at all to the message, what I was trying to get from it. yeah, I get too caught up on the imagery. So for me, I can't read with it very well, and I'm pretty 100% sure that I am going to rehome this deck because of that reason. I just can't get past it, which is sad. Like, it's beautiful photography and stuff, but it's just not for me. So that's my most confronting deck, and my most comforting deck, which will be no surprise to almost anybody in terms of a comforting deck, is the Gentle Tarot. So this is on shiny linen cardstock. Oh, like, I'm already starting. Look at that little otter in those beautiful dusk hues. This is a comforting deck. Not only is the image, it's called the Gentle Tarot, for goodness sakes. Not only is the imagery comforting, the color palette is as well. It's like those warm earth tones. It's got an earth energy to it. It's really rooted in the earth for me. The guidebook, I haven't got the physical one, but I've just read the online one, and all of the meanings are really gentle. They're very comforting. It's a hug. It's in a lot of people's hug decks, and for good reason, because that's what it is. It is pure comfort, reassurance, nurturing. These are all words to describe this deck. Even like the more, you know, that's the devil, for goodness sakes. Like, you know, that's comforting in a way. So yeah, so this is definitely my most comforting deck. I could do a side-by-side comparison, but should I? Okay, maybe I should have done one of the other ones too. I forgot to do comparison side-by-side. So this one here for my most comforting deck, and then for my most confronting deck, here we go, is the Tarot. So you can pretty much see the difference in the vibes, even though this is watery, so it's got that blurriness. It's not so crisp and clear still compared to this one. This comes at you very gently, and this is in your face. This is like, oh, what's going on there? I need to unpack that. Whereas this one's just really easy to digest, to accept, compared to this one. So yeah, those, I know a lot of people found like really great pairings doing this. I wouldn't pair these two together. But yeah, so that was the Abyssal Tarot for most confronting, and the Gentle for most comforting. And that's all of my decks done. I'll put links down below to the decks or any walkthroughs I have for them. I hope you're having a beautiful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And as always, stay wild, Star Child.